Hey guys, Adam here. Welcome to a mini-sode of Roundhouse Roulette, a Walker, Texas Ranger podcast. We had so many topics of discussion that we couldn't fit into last week's episode that we figured we'd break it off for this off week and give you guys our deep dive into Chuck Norris on Howard Stern in 1995. Yes, we watched it so you wouldn't have to. We also talk about how Evan's current job may be replaced by an app. So, technology marches on. But before I hit play here, look, nobody's perfect, including us on Roundhouse Roulette here. We all make mistakes, but it's fun to talk about celebrities and their mishaps. So I'm just going to hit play here. And, we love you, Chuck. Bob, you sent us a link to this article here that I don't know if you were sending it to Evan and I to be like, oh, this is cool, but honestly, this looks like it's going to put Evan out of a job.
Well, believe me, the thought crossed my mind.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the listeners what you sent us?
Well, there's this Merlin Bird ID app that has been developed by the fine folks at the
Cornell Lab of Ornithology.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, see, Evan, you might know that, but it doesn't matter that you knew where that was because this app is going to be able to ID birds like you ID songs with the Shazam app. It's like a Shazam app for birds. So people on guided tours aren't going to need guides like you to be like, oh, that's the shoo-doo wee-doo woo-doo. Oh, listen to that. That's the blah, 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 blah. They're just going to be like, oh,
how did you know? You're familiar with both of those species?
I am
that's a deep
actually,
cut, dude. That's a deep cut.
Because I've been using the app.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I don't have to listen to people like you. I just go into the woods and I get to have the silence of nature, except for the bird calls. And I silently
silence of nature.
I just take out my app and I lift it up in the air, and I don't have to listen to people like you. And then I look at the phone and it shows me the birds. It's so much more peaceful. No Latin names.
This one shows the Latin name though.
Oh crap! I wonder if you can turn that off. Is that toggleable? Can you toggle that off?
Probably.
Okay, all right. But that's the thing, Evan. I'm worried for you. So, and Bob, thank you for bringing this to our attention here. But
yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is the Merlin Bird ID app.
Yeah.
And for a while, it's actually had a feature in it that you can kind of plug in a series of criteria, like if you see a bird, like how big it is and what general colors it was and where it was, and it would use your location and generate sort of the most likely birds that you just saw.
So
that's
you
pretty cool
were
thing.
Aware of this app, Evan?
Yeah, I suggest people get it because it's free. And if you're looking into getting into like IDing birds, it's super helpful. That said, like kind of take it with a grain of salt because it is a computer trying to tell you what you're seeing and it's not actually seeing it itself. And even in the case of like hearing birds, that's even more difficult. So generally speaking, like most robins look the same, right? But you could have 10 different robins and their song would all sound very different potentially.
I was testing it out. I was up in New Hampshire earlier this week. One came back with red-bellied woodpecker and a downy woodpecker. I'm like, I mean, maybe. There's a bunch of birds in the yard. Both of them might have been there, but I don't know.
Possible. Anyways, bird song is incredibly variable, and it's been hard for researchers to get recordings for them to sort of ground truth computer learning's ability to learn bird song. I would think it's Cornell's attempt to get as much audio recording as possible for them to test their AI.
Yeah, everything you record, I'm sure, that is getting sent back up to the mothership. And
yeah. So, for instance, I was actually working where I was at. I was collaborating with some researchers who wanted to do this a couple years ago. And so I put out these recording devices all around our research area, and they basically were scheduled to record for a couple hours after dawn every single morning. And then I sent these things along with all the audio files back to the researchers, and they were going to sort of plug them through this software that's probably the same software that this uses.
Merlin.
Yeah, and then trying to sort of ID the birds from that. But I was apparently the only researcher who ever sent them back any audio files.
Well, it's probably because everyone it's job security, Evan, and you really just care more about the cause than your job security, and that's admirable. I really appreciate that, Evan.
And my job isn't identifying birds from sound, and
it's not.
No.
Okay, cool. So we know what the app does. Now, Evan, my question to you: does it make you angry that Bob added both of those woodpeckers to his life list?
It's his list. He can count whatever he wants.
I think what Adam's saying in a very terrible way is, are you worried about the data being compromised? Right? Is that right, Adam?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's my main concern, but I know that, they're taking these observations with a grain of salt when they come in.
Okay. So are you angry at Bob for doing that? That's my question.
No, I think it's cool. If that thing brings up 2 different species of woodpecker, it also provides you with information on those birds too. So, this is kind of like, sort of one of the first windows into the bird world that people get is like learning a handful of bird songs. And then once you go out, and if you've learned a couple common birds, now anytime you go out, you can kind of hear them and kind of know what they're up to.
There's no need to get angry, Evan. There's no need.
I'm furious.
Yeah.
Let's so furious.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the news here, Evan, because I think this is going to seeg into the next news item.
None of this was news.
No, that was. God. Yeah, we're going to move into the news here because, Evan, you're getting angry, you're getting grumpy, and
nice.
Yep,
nice.
And we're going to move on to this next news item here, Evan. Do you want to take it?
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And speaking of Merlin, the birding app, and grumpy people like you, I thought this would be appropriate.
That's true. So this is a man who's written a song called Merlin the Wizard. This is none other than Rick Wakeman, one of the keyboard players over the course of its lifespan for the progressive rock group Yes. And according to many, including myself, he is the greatest keyboard player to ever grace that band.
Most definitely.
Imagine Yanni, except instead of some majestic Greek man, he's a
fat English dude in a cape.
Yeah, exactly. With like really long blonde hair, who is really into like making explosion sounds on the keyboards and like 40-minute long keyboard solos.
Yeah. Well, apparently before the pandemic, he had a tour planned called Grumpy Old Rockstar US Tour, but it was canceled. And he unveiled his latest name of this tour, which is Even Grumpier Old Rockstar US Tour. So
it's appropriate.
If that's not breaking news, I don't know what is.
Yeah. When Yes was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as part of the induction speech, he told an anecdote about his recent colonoscopy. So I'm sure this tour will be nothing short of
savory.
Yeah, as they say these days, cringe.
Yeah, and
but in a good way.
Yeah, the best cringe. And his Twitter account is amazing. Just following that, he'll like put up stuff about like cutting his toenails, stuff like that. It's great. But it's hilarious.
Do you think he can play a keyboard solo with his toes?
He could definitely play a better keyboard solo than any of us with his toes.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah.
So shout out to Rick Wakeman. Glad that he's able to get back on the road here.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to hear Rick Wakeman's keyboards in maximum effect, listen to the Yes album Close to the Edge, which I believe is only 3 songs on a double-sided album.
That's correct, so, yeah.
There you go.
Didn't I get you a Rick Wakeman record for your birthday, Evan, right?
Yes, you did.
With that Philharmonic or something, right?
Yeah. It's his conceptual album called Journey to the Center of the Earth, based off of the Jules Verne novel of the same name. And it is, in a word, spectacular.
Synthesizers and symphony, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And and there's also spoken passages as well, which I assume are passages from the book itself. Which, I mean, it's one of the first sci-fi books ever written. So, the passages are pretty colorful. But I noticed that album is only part 1, and I wonder if they ever put out part 2.
Oh, okay. All right.
I also have a copy of his King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. That is also super epic. And as I said, it has a couple of choice pieces on there, including one called Merlin the Magician, which has ridiculous keyboard work reminiscent of bubbling test tubes.
Wow. Well, Rick Wakeman, you are...
he's a legend.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. This next headline here kind of made my head turn because it says, Chuck Norris to appear at Music City Mall.
Adam dashes out the door.
Yeah, I'm like, I live in Music City. I didn't hear about this. I guess the Music City Mall is in Dallas. So they're having the Dallas Comic Show. And why don't we see what he's got going on if you guys want to click on the link there.
My guess is he's going to try to hawk his silver nonsense or whatever that is.
Let's see.
Chuck Norris will be signing for approximately 2 hours beginning around 1 p.m. We estimate that Chuck will be able to sign for approximately 200 to 250 fans in the time allotted, but he will likely stay until he sees every last fan in line. So that's a mixed message there. Yeah. Autographs will be cash only, no credit cards accepted. An autograph on an 8x10 is $100 each. Funko Pops or movie posters will be $115 each. And Chuck will not be signing any of the following: no gis, belts, boxing gloves, karate equipment, or prop weapons.
You mean Chuck?
Yeah, they misspelled it on the website. At this event, Chugada will not be signing of the following. Come on now, Dallas Comic Show.
Well, it doesn't say he won't sign real weapons. So bring in a real katana and he'll sign it. Yeah, baby.
What about a
loophole?
Yeah. What about a deodorant ad? I don't know where that goes in. How does that fall in line here?
What if you brought in something that was already signed by him, only to have him sign it a second time?
It's getting. I look at this every night, and it's getting a little worn. Can you trace over it for me?
Yeah, right. Trace over it real slow.
Can you actually confirm that this was you that signed this?
And if
it was, just walk away and don't have to sign anything else. I just wanted to check.
Like, okay, just confirming.
Yeah. No one's going to wait in line for hours to meet Chuck and not give Chuck $100, right? I
don't know. Maybe. If they don't want an autograph and they just want to say hi to him, you could do that for free, I guess.
Yeah, and then he'd be like, get out of here. I'm trying to make money.
Well, yeah.
So if you want a real interaction, it's going to cost you at least $100. Let's just say he has 200 fans, $100 a pop. Dude, he just cleared $20,000. All cash, 2 hours.
That's true. He doesn't even have to declare that on his taxes.
He's like, there wasn't a really good showing.
Or he gets robbed on the way out of there, though.
Are you kidding?
No. Funny you mentioned that, Bob. There was an article that the money from one of these conventions was lost. Or that's what Chuck Norris was claiming.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who ran the convention countersued, and he was like, this is one fight that Chuck Norris is not going to win.
Ooh.
So there was some arbitration per, apparently that potential $20,000 got mishandled and Chuck didn't get what he wanted apparently, or they gave it to somebody's cousin to carry to the bank and it never made it there or something like that. Even Chuck Norris has got to watch his cash closely. Maybe that's why he's doing all cash this time.
Be better off doing Venmo.
Yeah, Chuck's Venmo account. Evan, this next news item is something that you texted us that is kind of ironic, maybe?
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with Jared Padalecki, but it sounds like he was a little bent out of shape because there was some sort of prequel show to Supernatural and he wasn't consulted about it. And let's just say that's exactly how Chuck Norris feels. And Jared Padalecki, sit down.
Yeah. Get a little taste of your own medicine.
Yeah, well, it's funny because he is supposedly pretty tight with his co-star, Jensen Ackles, I guess is how you say it. And they were in pretty much the whole series together. So Jared split off. The series ended. He started Walker. And Jensen apparently is hired to narrate a prequel series to Supernatural that isn't going to involve Jared Padalecki's character at all. And Jared's like, dude, why am I just finding out about this on Twitter, bro? And they had kind of like this weird thing, and fans are like, seriously, is Jared only just hearing about this on Twitter? And then they started going after Jensen and being like, how could you do this, blah blah blah, to the point where it was kind of like Jared had to call off the dogs. And this article says Jared pleads for peace amid very public supernatural falling out. He says, please don't send hate or threats. And
Dude,
and again,
that implies that that's a reactionary measure, so that's already happened.
Yeah, exactly. Which is crazy because, you know, Jared, when he heard about this, his reaction, his knee-jerk reaction was to like shout out his boy on Twitter. You know, Chuck Norris, to his credit, he has been a gentleman about it as far as the reboot and let it stand on its own. He hasn't muddied the waters at all. You know, Jared could learn a little bit from Chuck Norris on this. That's all I'm saying.
He could.
I agree.
This next news item kind of puts things into perspective for fans of Roundhouse Roulette who are kind of mad at us for going down to every other week. Well, this next headline might ring with you guys. Fans are outraged by Howard Stern's summer off after $500 million SiriusXM deal. Howard Stern, he's taking the whole summer off. We're not doing that.
No, it's not in our contract.
And we also didn't sign a $500 million deal.
Well, so. Money aside, we're not doing this for money, Evan. I don't know what you are. You are? You're doing this for money?
Then why'd you have me fill out that W-2?
Yeah, man.
You just wanted my social.
No, he wants us to go to Dallas Comic Con and sign things for $5 a piece.
Yeah, and I'm going to get $95 out of that 100. So,
for the record, I will sign fake weapons.
Oh, you will? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But not real ones.
No, not real ones. Okay.
Spoiler alert, in the hands of Chuck Norris, anything is a weapon, so he will sign nothing.
Good point.
That is his out. That's an asterisk. Yeah. So, what do you guys think about Howard Stern, taking a vacation?
I don't care. In fact, I would say the less time he's on air, the better.
Obviously, if he's getting a $500 million deal and he's going to take 3 months off, he's doing something right. He's played his cards right.
Hey, baseball players get like $500 million contracts and they get like every winter off.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Football players, even worse. Think about that.
Anyway, I'm just saying, guys, we're going to be here this summer and Howard Stern's not. That's all I'm saying.
So you expect a little boost in our ratings, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I do. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, moving on here. Did you guys get a chance to watch that video I sent you of Chuck Norris being interviewed on the Howard Stern show in 1995 with his then fiance, who I didn't know existed?
I did get a chance, actually, sadly.
I did too, and I was mostly shocked by the fact that Adam expected us to watch a 45-minute long video of Howard Stern.
I did take umbrage with that.
Right. Yeah. And I'd forgotten how little I liked Howard Stern, and this was like him in like peak Howard Stern.
Yeah, this is when he was probably the most Howard Stern.
Right. And it's like, this is what he got famous doing. It's the stupidest thing.
He's so much better now, I think. I've always been like a real passive, like, I never listened to it regularly, and once he went to satellite. But I do watch some videos every now and then, and he's way better now, right? He's like way more of an interviewer. It's more interesting. I forgot how just vulgar he was.
Right. Yeah. Like in this video, he's kind of like, okay. Yeah. Evan, why don't you would be the best person to describe this video, actually.
So yeah, this is Howard Stern. I guess he's got his radio show going on. He's got his full entourage, and there's a great hubbub because Chuck Norris has come into the studio with his entourage, which everyone is claiming is ridiculous because it's so large. But let's face it, Howard Stern's entourage is larger and probably just as ridiculous. Yeah. And they're also really excited because not only is Chuck Norris there, and they think the world of him. Keep in mind, this is 1995. Chuck Norris is coming off of a massively successful late 70s to late 80s run of blockbuster movies, and he's got his own syndicated TV show. So he's like a big deal. And he's come in, and they're all super excited because he's also brought his super hot, curvy girlfriend. And that's their words. Howard Stern seems very excited about that, and he seems fixated more on Chuck Norris's girlfriend than on any other aspect of anything for the 40 minutes or so. Anyways, Chuck Norris comes in. He is his normal timid self, although apparently he and Howard Stern go way back and they're friends, which seems like an extremely unlikely friendship.
Yep.
And Chuck Norris has decided that the best way for him to unveil his engagement to a woman who's 20 years his junior at least.
Yeah, they made a comment. He was 50 at the time and she was like 24.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Half his age plus 7 minus a lot.
Yeah.
So he decided this was the best way for them to reveal the fact that they are engaged now.
She actually stars in the episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, A Ranger Christmas. So
really?
Can't wait to get to that one.
Yep.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah. So this relationship is interesting because it's between his divorce and then eventually he marries Gina. But in between, he must have dated Monica Hall here, who apparently from the interview he met through a friend. And Monica is an interior decorator, something we know a lot about, Evan, right?
Yes. Yep.
Our mother is an interior decorator, so we can totally relate to Monica.
Yeah, although I'm sure she got into the profession because she has a passion for design.
Yeah, don't throw no shade at Monica, Evan. We don't know Monica. We don't know her at all. We just know her from this interview, and we don't really get to know her very well because essentially the whole interview is Howard Stern talking about how lucky, Chuck Norris is to be with someone so young and how lucky she is to be with Chuck Norris because he has so much money.
Mm-hmm.
He even brings up, have you guys talked about a prenuptial agreement? And
he badgers Chuck Norris about a prenup, but actually both of them about a prenuptial agreement for the majority of the interview.
For the marriage that never happened, probably because of this Howard Stern interview.
Certainly didn't help.
Right. It's kind of fascinating though, in that Chuck Norris is he actually opens up a couple times here, and we learned some interesting little tidbits.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he pays his first wife $750,000 a year as part of alimony.
And he said in the interview, that was
for life,
perpetuity.
So he's still doing that?
So forever.
Now, that's a lot of conferences.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Why he's signing
a lot of Comic-Cons.
Yeah, this Comic-Con is barely scratching the surface there on that. Chuck, we take it back. You can go to Goldco as many times as you want. You can go to the Music City Mall and sign autographs.
Man's got to eat. Man's got to eat.
We understand it. We understand.
He's got to come up with $750K every year just to pay alimony, so...
Wow. Okay. Well, that was kind of weird. It's weird talking money, especially this large amount of money that we have no idea. I mean, this podcast, we make about $80,000 a year from this podcast.
Each of us.
Each. Oh yeah. Each. So we don't know that amount of money, but
wait, what?
Oh, are we gonna have to start paying Evan, Bob?
Wait, can I eject him from this call?
Yeah, get him out. We can get another third host. We don't need him on here.
Oh, man, now I lost my bird job and I lost this. I have nothing. No, I'm okay talking money here because
Chuck put it on Front Street. Is that what you're saying?
Well, not only that, he says, well, money doesn't really matter to me. Yeah. And then he seems very upfront about how much he paid for the wedding ring that he put on her finger.
Which, again, that's kind of tacky, too.
$100,000 or something, $80,000, something like that.
He's like, oh, it's about $100,000.
$100,000. I was like, why do we do that? I guess only on Howard Stern we're going to get this kind of stuff happen.
Right,
but
exactly.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. Just tabloid fodder here.
He does mention his sons. He mentions one is an actor and one works on the TV show as the second unit producer, which we knew.
Yep.
And I'm hoping you guys caught the fact that in the last 30 seconds of the interview or so, Howard Stern says like, oh, this guy's the real deal. He does all this stuff and he doesn't use any stunt doubles.
Yeah. And then Chuck Norris
has a look on his face, like looking to the left and to the right. And he's thinking like,
Yeah,
but he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say a thing.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shout out to Kinney, unfortunately. Come on, Chuck.
He can neither confirm nor deny. That's what he does.
I was most fascinated by the fact that in Chuck Norris's entourage, he had a bunch of like publicity people, and then there was some random guy who was like Chuck Norris's fixer. He was just this dude in a baseball cap. No one referred to him by name. And they're like, well, what does he do? And Chuck Norris is like, well, he takes care of problems. And they're like what? And he's like, well, you encounter things and he just takes care of it.
Yeah, we might not want to talk about this guy.
I'm just curious to know. I'm curious to know who he is. I have a feeling that guy's got a lot of interesting stories if he's still around. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Chuck Norris's fixer. If you're out there, please hit us up. But I liked how the whole segment opened. The guy's reading off, I guess, the press release from Walker, Texas Ranger, and it included the fact that Chuck now sings his own theme song, and how it's kind of like, oh man, I'm gonna have to bust his balls about this. He's living too good a life. And then they actually ask him about, what's up with you singing now? He's like, can we get you to sing right now? And Chuck's kind of like, shuts it down. No. He kind of even was kind of like, it's ridiculous,
Yeah, he knew how absurd that is.
He did. There was kind of some acknowledgement that, it was kind of outlandish that he sung his own theme from him.
So this interview with Howard Stern was in, March of 1995.
And might I add that Top Dog came out in April of 1995.
So he wasn't even promoting that?
He'd already filmed Top Dog.
Yeah.
You know what? I think Top Dog may have ended their relationship because by July 24th, 1996, I have the press release of Norris calling off the longtime engagement with Monica Hall.
Oh, I guess if you go public on Howard Stern and say you're getting engaged, you have to do a press release.
Well, it's not really a press release. It just says, here's one plunge Chuck Norris says he's not going to take. Norris told television's Entertainment Tonight Monday that his engagement to longtime girlfriend Monica Hall is off. They'd plan to get married next month when Norris, 56, announced the wedding plans last year during an interview on Howard Stern's radio talk show. The marriage would have been Norris's second and the first for 26-year-old Hall, a fashion designer. So he was well over twice her age.
I'm pretty sure he said he was 50 on the show.
Yeah, he was 54 or 55 on the show.
Yeah.
He lied about his age? Oh, no.
Maybe a little fibbing. I might have misremembered it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know what to take from this, but...
Very little.
Yeah. I don't know.
What I took away from it was I was surprised at how open, and I wouldn't say Chuck Norris had a good sense of humor, but he was laughing a lot. His jokes weren't funny, but he was at least trying.
I have to imagine he was really uncomfortable.
But yeah, I didn't get that though. I agree. That's what you would think, but well,
he's the master of, like, as a karate champion, you don't benefit from showing discomfort. So you just kind of don't show emotion.
So he just laughs instead.
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, interesting. We'll post a link to this video. Proceed with caution. It'll be on the episode page for this podcast on our website, roundhouseroulette.com. Well, there you have it. You may need to take a cold shower after listening to this mini-sode here. I know I am going to, but we hope you'll join us next week when we get back into recapping and reviewing another epic episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. So thanks again for listening, and till then, may the eyes of the Ranger be upon you.
When you're in Texas, look behind you. Oh, 'cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.